survey.
Don't you?
So I have in the notes a question about having community input on making decisions for a change, and that the board has not ruled out the option of pulling the community thoughts.
What worried me, Jason, was that you said we might have to revise our budget. You mean we'd have to have a higher budget?
No.
No,
We'll
no,
approve what
no.
we're doing, and then if we hire an outside group, they'll only be budgeting for 10 or 11 months, so they'll have to redo what we've done.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and their
Because we've
budget,
used up 2 and they're going to use the rest.
I mean, their budget will be different, but it will have to be within our means.
I see
It's
what
just
you mean.
that, I mean, just for example, the person I was just on the phone with is offering a model that would mean, you know, good coverage of the clubhouse, but it would not be managed by anyone who's actually here, you know, at the number of hours that we currently have, because they have a way of giving people access to the building for lots of the purposes that we currently do with fewer hours. And
Okay.
well, you know, that's just one example of many things that would be different. Lots of things that are currently being done by on-site staff would, on every model, everybody I've talked to personally, are going to be handled by vendors. And we'll get to see what those costs are, and we'll get an upshot about what the costs for all the different services are going to be, you know, and they will have to revise the budget with that in mind, because we have our budget set up for on-site staff, and things that are now for that will now be, you know, diverted to a vendor.
But when we get those bids, let's assume that water, like Monday morning, what's Monday morning? What was
Water member.
What's Monday? 6:45. I call. I get out there. Whoa! The complex is flooded. I call the management company. What I'm gonna get? A recording. Call. This is an emergency.
During business hours.
Right. I'm gonna call that number. Probably I'm gonna get an answering service too. Okay.
Well, actually, all I can say is that the people that I've asked that question of so far have staff. The people I'm talking to are some pretty big companies. They have some staff that's on call 24/7.
They're going to give us a pep talk when they come in.
Oh,
They'll
that's
be
okay.
okay.
Now, look, how do we protect ourselves from them being liars? That's what references and calling board members and talking to homeowners
And
elsewhere.
sign our agreement that they have to respond within X amount of time and be on site within X amount of time. Those things are things in a contract that we can apply.
But I suspect that we're both going to find people reporting to us, well, that company, yeah, it's like you said. And then there are going to be other people who are going to say, oh, gee, you know, they get here pronto. They have, their person is within a mile of our place and always answers the phone.
Now, my second question is, I called Barney at 6:45 was Monday, right? When he didn't make more money to running towards the problem because he is a manager 24/7 here. Okay, he not only managed the office. He not only managed the office. He managed every contractor that comes here, every employee, and he don't make more money. Those companies they're gonna have to make money. The management company, the people they're gonna contract, the people they're gonna contract, the people they're gonna contract.
No, they don't take a commission on the contracts.
Everybody that does work for somebody else have to make money.
Whether they're hourly or not.
Oh, no,
if
they-
someone works extra hours.
They'll
That
have to
wouldn't be
make
on.
money. So
Can we,
one question is, look, we're assuming that they are in this for a profit. We are also assuming that there's a possibility that people who do this for a profit are more efficient at it.
Okay.
I'll give you one example, because this came up with the guy I was just talking to before I came to the meeting. They offer health care to all their employees, and they offer it at a much lower rate than we do because they have a large company. So they're buying health insurance through a pool. They have 3 CPAs that work for them. So they get their audits, they get their accounting, and all that done very efficiently by staff that's working, you know, managing the accounts for all the HOAs that they manage. So they can keep that person working, you know, 8 hours a day efficiently on just that. Now, we won't know till we see both the numbers. And I've been told, everybody that I've talked to said, get ready, this is not cheap. But I think that's because they know that people might have fantasies that our budget is 810,000 last year, and we want it to be 710 from these companies, and it won't, or 500, you might think.
Better yet, huh?
I mean, there are other places that are getting some kind of services for less money than we're paying. But one of the issues is, are they gonna give us the services that we want and that we're used to? And that's what will be the job of the subcommittee and the references and investigating the claims they make to see if they've actually lived up to their promises. It's gonna be in the details of the bids. And all these concerns are absolutely high in the minds of everybody.
Because
on the
usually the
subcommittee.
small details is the ones that bite you.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Approval of minutes, yeah?
Yeah, let's do that.
Wow.
Okay.
Is that a motion? Sounds like a motion.
Yeah, it's not a motion, it's a
Just
suggestion.
an effort.
Good
of
loser.
Second,
There you go.
You got that?
Oh, I need it first.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
we
first.
need a,
Well,
we
we
need a,
haven't,
we
didn't
need a
have
motion.
any motions about what?
I would.
What's in it?
Well, we have to read them first.
I already read it. Everybody
Okay,
read
good.
it.
They were mailed on 2 days ago.
Except for
right?
Yeah.
I motion that we approve the October minutes.
Already done, but we need a second.
second.
Yeah.
She's a
second.
Oh, sorry about that, no.
I tried to motion.
Matt has it,
Several motions.
Matt
All
moved.
right, Matt, I've got you.
And
guys.
seconded.
Dan seconded.
All in favor, say
Well, that
aye,
was-
aye, aye.
Aye.
Good. All opposed? Lynn,
Yes, you got the financial statements a couple days ago, pretty straightforward, not much happens toward the end of the year, except for maybe something big and bad. I was very relieved to find out that the water leak was a city issue in our house.
Yeah.
The reserve expenditures hasn't changed, but this doesn't include that $5,000 or $6,000 or $7,000 for the new swamp cooler that was put on my building, so next month we'll be over budget on that. And that's about what I've got to say.
Okay.
Any questions? Okay.
Lynn, I have one question for
Yes.
you. This is something that some of the property managers have asked me. What are reserve dues?
I
There's
can
a
answer
line
that.
item called reserve dues that's worth about $6,000 in the,
About 6 years ago, when I was on the board, I made a motion to charge 2 months' dues on every sale and take that 2 months of dues and add it to the reserves, and the board approved it.
It's also in
so this is income
Wait a minute,
from
I
that
paid
policy.
2 months of dues in 1991 and you weren't on the board.
Oh,
there.
I
That has
Since
the same thing.
Okay.
Well, it was dropped,
Thanks.
it was not in
Yeah,
existence
you
when
can
I
tell I
got here in
read all the
2000.
emails, right?
Key fee,
And
I only
I
paid
believe
one
is
when I
the
was
Um,
and you
What?
wasn't 3 years longer.
Is that what it
I
is?
paid one.
Right?
Yeah.
Some
Oh.
people use keep fee.
Okay, but this is
So-
an ownership.
Actually, you know why it happened?
So I'm
It
sure.
happened because of your
Good.
mansard.
Was
Did
there
I,
only
did
one
I
back
pay
then?
2
That's why we
months when
did
I
it.
bought the
Well, I'd
place?
be
We did it because of the mansard.
Yeah, sure.
And Lynn, I have one other question
Yes.
for you.
Because we raised all that money for mansards, so we said people buying in are getting these new mansards, they gotta pitch in for the mansards, that's how why.
Several
You're
of the
right, there
property
was one.
managers have wondered why on our statements, in the accounts, it's all clear, but on the budget, it doesn't show that
Where it is now.
that we take in dues, people pay a certain amount for heat of the various kinds, common area electric too, and then we disperse those funds to pay for our utilities. So they've been looking at our budget and trying to figure out what we pay in utilities, and it's totally confusing, because the way that we present it doesn't show, here's the inflow, here's the income, here's the expense.
It all goes through the expense
It's
account
all
and zeros
washed.
out. Yes, it's a wash.
Yeah,
The
okay.
income also goes through the expense account.
Yeah, it's just an offset
So
of
the-
expenses.
Okay.
Right.
Interesting.
But you
Comes
legally
in,
have
goes
to
out,
wash
zero.
all your
Treated as a,
utilities.
I realize I told them that it's a zero deal.
Right.
It's a zero-sum game.
We
but-
pay it, we charge it.
Right, because several of them have said that they would actually, this would be clear the way they would present it.
I don't like that, because that's not the way the auditors do it.
I see, okay,
We've never done that.
okay.
Excuse me.
Well, maybe that they convert.
Can I just, there used to be a spreadsheet, Barney, are you still keeping that? That showed the utilities for every building?
Yeah, I actually had to do that for syndicated solar, and then
Solar.
I've been keeping it going just because of that.
And
But
so
also
that
we're
would be
online
something
now, so
that
Excel
would
also
just give
does
them
it
an
for you.
idea of what it is.
Excel
I mean,
does
that
it
was
for
internal,
us. We
but
finally went online in July with all our bills, and so they actually give you a report too.
right. But remember that one because we had to get it all for the solar company when they
Right.
were looking at that. So I don't know. That might be something that you
I mean,
could
we,
get some
I can
other
give that
companies.
to the management companies.
Why don't you email it to
Okay.
me? Okay. That was
Though,
all
though
I
the
had.
Excel online thing blew up this month, and I wasn't getting bills.
Managers report.
Yeah, I wasn't getting bills. I won't tell you that.
Maureen?
Oh, managers report. Okay, so yeah, we dodged a bullet. Very large water, the water main break on Bridger was a lot of water. It happened probably sometime in the night. Our first call was at 6:24 a.m. And the only reason the city hasn't cleaned the street yet is they want the dirt to dry before they come in with the sweepers. But I do think it informs us that we're not crazy that we're having water main breaks because it's the feeder from the cities are breaking. So we're not crazy, we're not cursed, we're just old. And you know, the city,
I'm not cracking.
it was amazing to have the city, when it's a city issue, I mean, it's like an army.
There was
You and your old.
I mean, an army came out here. One nice thing they did do was when they showed up around 7:20, he said, "I'm going to be killing water 4 buildings." And I said, "You know, people are taking showers and getting to work." And he said, "You know what? I'll crank it down." And he kept the water pressure. We did, you know, we were from an environmental point letting some water pour into the gutter, but he kept the water pressure till about 9:45, which was pretty nice, I thought. And then we lost water to 4 buildings till about 2 o'clock. Problem with losing water, by the way, is you lose heat because the boilers must have pressurized water feeding them and not hot water heaters, or you have a fire hazard. So you have to turn all your heating systems off.
And our
So,
boiler is really, really loud now that you've turned it back on.
oh jeez. Okay.
Probably
That's
vibrating
a
the
new
floor.
Okay.
Barney?
So anyway, you know, the problem is if it happens in the middle of winter, I'm not sure what to tell you.
That's gonna be my next question.
Yeah, that's what I always think of the worst case, and I just, I mean, we have about 10 space heaters, but what I'm thinking is going unit by unit and giving people space heaters. They have to probably not be the strongest space heaters, so we don't overload circuits, but they keep nominal
I have an
temperature in a
extra one
building,
if you need one.
you know, over freezing. You know, the other problem is a water main break that isn't city.
Yeah, so it
Because
took
then, because this army could restore this within hours, but what happens when it's on our property?
Will the city not help you?
They will not do the work, no.
Yeah, they won't, cause like when it broke in
Yeah,
33, 65,
they'll look and
75,
advise.
that's it, they come and look and, oh, this
But
was.
boy, was it
That's
sweet,
broken.
I mean, they were
Right
like,
on, it's like.
it was like,
Wow.
like waiting.
Thanks.
because it took what,
Yeah.
it was 8 hours.
after Colorado FEMA?
It was 8 hours without heat, right? We were lucky that it was 50 degrees out that day.
Well, what we really lucked out with the water main break that was on our property was what buildings lost water? No, but what about those buildings?
No,
Yeah,
we
they're
had our own
furnaces.
heaters.
You have your own heaters.
Right.
We lucked out, it was February.
Yeah, the road was dug up for 6 months.
And we didn't have water for 2 weeks, okay? We didn't have water for 2 weeks, so those people had their own furnaces, so we have to do a scenario where we have a water main break on our property to buildings that have central boilers. And I don't have a solution for you right now, and it's a concern.
By the way, Barney, I just realized there are 2 other issues, and I should address them in my report rather than you.
Okay,
You want me to rewind?
yeah, rewind.
Okay,
I
there
hate
are
to
2
be scary, but I just think about this stuff.
So there are 2 other things that I should have told you that I just forgot about. One is the ditch contract has been approved. Matt raised some good questions, final questions about our water rights and whether they were exposed to anything problematic down the road. And the lawyer looked into it and answered our questions, and we approved it. I approved it yesterday by voice vote, and I'm supposed to get a contract to sign once they give it to the other party, and it's going to cover the cost of our lawyer and blah blah blah. So that looks good. Looks like it's finally out of our hair. A less pleasant thing involves